What if there was no light during the day? What if somehow someone could block out the sun? Everybody would say right away that that was a natural resource. We need that for life. Well, you need darkness too. It is a natural resource, and without it, you have the problems that are represented by sleep disorders in people.
What we're going to talk a bit about today, which is circadian rhythm challenges that, of course, can be deeply impacted by light exposure, shift work, all that kind of stuff.
You know, you wake up, everything's still dark when you're driving, you get into work, and then it's like the office lights. And, you know, the lights definitely affect you a lot in the morning. I remember specifically getting into work, it was the worst because I would wake up in darkness and then like I'd leave it when the day time was out. But no, it definitely sucked. I was only getting a couple hours of sleep.
The overall concept is the natural biological rhythm that folks have as it pertains to sleep wake. Circadia means around, and the thinking is it's actually around 24 hours. It's actually not 24 hours exactly. It's a little closer to 25. There were some experiments done, some of which probably wouldn't be ethical in today's age. There was a pretty famous one in Kentucky where a bunch of people just shut themselves down in a cave for like a few weeks and just like had zero light exposure and kind of see what their sleep schedule was like. And they found that we actually do tend to have a rhythm and a consistency that is about or around a 24-hour biological clock. If we're talking about a 24-hour clock, and that's sort of like how our system is operating, then of course there are pieces there, light-based pieces, patterns, rituals, and routines that reinforce how exactly our bodies adapt to sleep-wake cycles.
And one of the problems anywhere where you don't get enough of the big gold sun is it provides you with vitamin D. When I first started working at the factory, my doctor says, yeah, you need to take vitamin D tablets. In the winter, or when we have less sun, I work in the factory 6 to 6. My period of sunshine is like 2 to 4:30 when it's dark out. So doing that shift, you are vulnerable of not getting that vitamin D from the sun.
And you know, there's all kind of research that shows it messes up their circadian rhythms, and it decreases their mental well-being and their physical health because of the continued exposure to unnatural light.
How do I say this the best? Blue light regulates the circadian rhythm, and that is very oversimplified. The core idea is your eyes have 3 sets of photoreceptors. You have the rods, you have the cones, and you have something called the IPRGCs, which we definitely need a better name for. These IPRGCs only sense blue and green light.
Things on the more blue light, kind of short wavelength spectrum tend to drive more melatonin suppression. Melatonin is a hormone that a lot of people are familiar with because of the supplements. That it plays an active role in our circadian rhythm and regulating our day-night cycle from a hormonal perspective. So things that are brighter on that sort of shorter wavelength blue light spectrum are going to have and do have a bigger impact.
Sometimes, you know, when you're trying to go to bed and you close your eyes, but you still feel like you're really under the light because you have been in light for like 12 hours. Even if it's a pitch dark room and you have your eyes closed, but sometimes you feel like it's actually bright out there. Definitely eye strain, and especially if you're really stressed out. Some days when you're stressed out, you can kind of tell you do not want to be looking at a light or like anything that kind of bothers you a lot, like even looking at my monitor, and you kind of get that it feels like it's so much brighter that day than any other day.
There are companies out there that use a softer tone of green to soften that light, and it's helpful for many, especially migraine sufferers who are bothered by light sensitivity.
if we look at evolution, in the past, we essentially had very bright sunlight during the day, and we had basically only firelight and moonlight at night.
It's pretty clear that there's a pretty marked difference in how things have been with the advent of more widely available and used screens. There was some research that even a very small amount of light, for example, like a phone light in bed, can have a pretty strong impact on delaying sleep onset and impacting, again, that circadian cycle.
There's correlations now that are coming up between exposure of light at night in terms of what people are exposed to and rates of heart disease. There's even one study that was done last year that showed a correlation between rates of Alzheimer's and exposure to light pollution.
Only the last 25 or so years did we even know much about this.
It's hard to, correlation is not causation. In other words, like it can be a bit hard to make that jump from like, hey, this is kind of what we're seeing to this is causing this, right? As time goes on, we start to fill in those gaps. But as we were talking about, I think the advent of pervasive use of screens, especially at night, is a newer phenomenon in the sort of grand scale of all this stuff.